Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming yet another interview from the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, this time from part 2, Mark Patton. Yes, Jesse himself will be on the podcast today, and I am so excited. Mark is really cool. I met him a couple years ago at Dark Delicacies. And I can't wait to have him on the show today to talk about the movie and a couple others he did back in the 80s. It's going to be pretty cool. And I'm just so lucky. I can't say this enough every day, how lucky I am with the guests I get on this podcast. So, here is my interview with Mark Patton.
Hello.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Hey, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. I'm great. It's such an honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Okay, sure. I'm happy to.
Yes, the day after 4th of July. So, going back in time, did you gravitate toward acting early on?
Oh, yes, I was an actor from a very young age. I started professionally acting at 17, but I was pretty active before that. 10 or 11, that's when I started.
Mm-hmm. You did school plays and community theater and all that?
Yeah, I did all of those kind of things. The community theater and the things that young children do in the park and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, just a normal childhood.
Mm-hmm. Were there any movie stars that you idolized?
No, really not. I was more of a, I like movies, just like normally. I didn't have like obsessions like people do nowadays. It seems like everybody's got a collection of somebody. But, no, I just enjoyed movies and theater. I sang, and, we had a pretty well-rounded, normal family. I really got involved in the theater in the high school, when sophomore, junior in high school, I started doing all of that kind of stuff. And then I moved to New York when I was, as soon as I graduated from high school to pursue a career in New York.
Where are you originally from?
Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City, Missouri, okay. And you got so lucky on your first movie because you got to work with Robert Altman and Cher on Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean. How did you get the role of Joe Qualley?
Well, I had started to actually work in New York. That wasn't really not my first job, but the first really, I guess, notable, it was a big deal kind of job. I started making commercials in New York, and that's how I started for Coca-Cola and Pepsi and that type of thing, which is, a career in of itself where you make the money so that you can do the other things. And then, so I had been doing plays and commercials in New York, and I auditioned for Jimmy Dean on Broadway first, and back with the same cast as the film. So, it was just a normal audition for me, but it was exciting because, of course, it had Cher, and then Sandy Dennis and Karen Black, Kathy Bates, myself, and then, of course, Robert Altman. And we did that on Broadway we rehearsed, and we were on Broadway for almost a year. And then we immediately shot the film, and that took about a few months. And then it opened the New York Film Festival, which is super big deal. And so, I was very lucky to work with Robert. It opened a lot of doors for me to a lot of different experiences in life, from art and film and theater to just personal relationships, which were really amazing.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that it was a Broadway play. I saw the movie once, and it has all the ingredients of a Robert Altman movie. ensemble, great dialogue, and all that stuff. Were you disappointed, though, that the movie wasn't financially successful?
Oh, but it was financially successful. It's just, Robert Altman doesn't make movies like multi-billion-dollar movies. That movie was made for $500,000, and it made at this point probably $30 or $40 million, which is extremely successful. Our films are very different than mainstream movies. We went to the Cannes Film Festival and won the Golden Lion and the Golden Bear, which are like winning Academy Awards. It was a very successful film, and it rebooted Robert's career, which is really important because it forms the third wing of his career when he began to work on scripts, which he had never done before, and stay on the book. So all of the movies that you see after, like Gosford Park and those type of movies, they come straight out of Jimmy Dean. So I was very pleased with it. Yeah, I would have liked the Broadway show to run a bit longer, but besides that, no, it's a totally positive experience. Very good experience.
So it was successful in terms of it broke even at the box office.
No, it made $30 million, which is more than breaking even.
Oh yeah, for something that was produced for $500,000, yes. For some reason, I thought it didn't do that well, but that's good that you corrected me.
The thing is, the movie was actually produced by Viacom Cinecom, which is what would be now Netflix. So it was one of the first movies that was ever produced specifically for cable. So it was produced for Viacom, paid for by Viacom, which would now be like Netflix. So it was produced for streaming content, and then it was released into a movie theater, which is why it was made for so little money, and then why it became so successful. It was a new model of making films. Robert Altman was very, very smart when it came to money. So nowadays it seems like everybody wants to make, if your film doesn't make $500 million in the first weekend, it's not considered successful. But the reason that is the producer and the stars of the movie are taking the first $200 or $300 million. So usually they make money in movies for less than $1 million, and then if they made back $10 million, that was considered very successful. But it's a different way. So actually, the way I like making films, I prefer, if I could make a film and walk away from it at the end with $1 million, I would be thrilled. It's just the big corporations are not thrilled with that. But we lose the good small movies that we used to have. You don't see them so often anymore.
I know there's so many lost gems from the 80s, and it seems like a lot of movies that are being made nowadays will someday be, lost gems because, very few people are watching them now.
Well, it's interesting. I'm on the film festival circuit right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're traveling the United States and then Europe. So I've been at the film festival almost every week for the last few months. And it's amazing the amount of content that's out there. There's amazing films being made. And now because of Netflix, the movie industry is, being saved that way. Because there are movies, a lot of the movies that I see in the film festivals, which are amazing films, will never make it into a theatrical release. But they do, they stream on Netflix or Hulu or HBO. And again, that same model is back to the old way of making movies. You can make a movie for a little bit of money and sell it to Netflix, and you'll make a profit. And to make it worth the while, like our documentary, which I'm doing right now, 4.5 years to make it. So it's a lot of work,
Yeah.
But when we sell it, we'll get our money back and then a nice profit, and people will have seen it. And that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And then you did a sci-fi movie called Anna to the Infinite Power, which I watched for the first time last night, and I really liked it. Yeah.
It's a sweet movie. Yeah. It's a movie that was made for, basically aimed at 10 or 11-year-old girls. But It was made by a company called Blue Marble, which is a big kind of young people's company during the 1970s and 1980s. I love Anna to Me for the Power. Actually, it's a movie that I think should be remade right now because the script is really good. And it's a nice way to introduce younger people to some historical things like the Holocaust and science. To get a lot of information, there's a lot of teaching going on in that movie. And it's still fun. And it's got a girl hero. And I have a lot of nieces and now great nieces, and every one of them love that movie. They memorize it when they're little girls, and so it's kind of a cult thing in my family. They all know all the lines, so they can put on Anna to be a color and kind of. And my mother was Steve Merrill in that movie, but very cool person. She was at one point the richest woman in the world, and she lived in Mar-a-Lago, which is where Donald Trump's. Where Donald Trump's home is today in Palm Beach. That was her house when we were filming the movie. And her mom owned, her mother was Marjorie Merriweather Post, so she owned Post Toasties and Kellogg and all of those kind of things. She's a nice lady, though.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, Martha Byrne, she's still working these days.
Yeah, does Martha work? And I know she was on sets for a really long time. She actually went on her show where she played Kitty, I think is the character's name. I'm confused sometimes because my little sister from Nightmare on Elm Street also went on to become a very big sex star. But Martha got that job the minute we stopped filming Anna to the Infinite Power. She got that job, and then she was on the show for 20 years.
Yeah.
No one did that job. Yeah.
The legendary Jack Gilford. Yeah. The legendary Jack Gilford is in the movie. What was he like?
Well, now that Jack is dead, he was kind of a jerk, actually. He was, you could tell that he felt like the film was something he was basically doing for money. And why I say he was a jerk is he filmed his, it's very customary in the film industry when you're doing the close-up, that the actor come and be with you while you're doing the close-up. So you have the sense of a real person being on the other side. He filmed all of his close-ups and just left. We were both very young, especially Martha. She was only 10 years old.
Yeah.
And so he just went home because it wasn't really something that was worth his time. And I was like, well, he was a jerk, and I have a tendency to be straightforward about people. I try not to say really mean things about people who are alive or anything like that, which would impact their career or something. But once in a while, it's like you kind of just have to call a jerk because I know Jack did that to a lot of people, and he has this reputation from the film of being this sort of curmudgeonly old kind of funny guy.
Yeah.
And that wasn't who he was at all. So not positive, but it was interesting working with him. Because I've seen him in so many different movies. I think that was a part of the disappointment also, that he wasn't more, more generous in just saying hello or something on the set, because you literally didn't speak to him.
Yeah, that is so unfortunate. I have talked to a few people who've worked with them and had better experiences, but that's unfortunate that you had that experience, though. Now comes the immortal Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. Had you seen the original before auditioning?
I had screen tested for the original. Really, actually, with Heather. So I only knew it in that respect. I hadn't actually seen the movie. And when I signed to do part 2, then they played the original Nightmare for me at the Grauman's Chinese Theater. My friend and I went to Grauman's Chinese Theater, and at midnight they played the movie for us. And so that was my first experience of it.
Mm-hmm. I talked to Jack Shoulder, and it seemed to me that everyone involved knew that the movie was going to be really hard to follow the first one because it was so brilliant and revolutionary in horror. And without Wes's involvement, they decided to move into a different direction, with Jesse turning into Freddy and, Freddy, appearing out of nightmares and at the party at the end and stuff, that the formula was broken for this one. I mean, would you agree that that this one was hard to follow the first one?
No, actually, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go with that thesis. Actually, I think Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is a really good movie in and of itself.
Yeah.
And if you spoke to Jack, and if you spoke to David, and if you spoke to Rob, you spoke to Bob Shea, if they were being more honest with you, then they'd be a little more honest with you. Jack actually didn't like Nightmare on Elm Street, the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and he decided very purposely not to make a movie like it. The same with David. I don't think David had actually seen the first Nightmare on Elm Street, and he didn't care for the movie, and he decided to make a possession movie. And Bob Shea didn't care at all, because all he wanted to do was make money, because it really felt like that the first Nightmare on Elm Street was a fluke, and they just wanted to pick up the cash. Wes didn't want to have anything to do with it. Honestly, I made this documentary, and I know all these people very well. I knew Wes very well. And, Wes didn't want there to be a series of Elm Street. He was very adamant that he wanted there to be only one movie. And it wasn't until he realized when Nightmare on Elm Street 2 came out. Nightmare on Elm Street 2 actually got very nice reviews and made a lot of money. And it made a lot of money very quickly. So if you go back and you look at the reviews from things like the New York Times, the London Times, and the mainstream big newspapers, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was really well received. In England, actually, it premiered before the first Nightmare on Elm Street. People think that Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was the original movie, and that Elm Street 1 was the follow-up, a prequel. Anyway, so they decided very consciously not to remake the movie. Also, I always like to think, that you'll have to see my documentary. It's really interesting. That Robert Englund was very lucky in the fact that, first of all, they didn't hire him for the second movie. They didn't want him to be in the movie because they didn't really feel like it was that important. This was Bob Shea, the owner of New Line Cinema. And so they used an extra to play the part of Freddy in the beginning. And had he not been, he was just so bad. I mean, he was really horribly bad. Had he been just a little bit better, they would have gone ahead and gone with the extra. And then I think Nightmare on Elm Street would be sort of like the Jason movies. There would have been a different Freddy for every movie. Probably Teen Holter would have done it, Teen Hodder, or anything like that. So no, I mean, I think the movies, I'm really, it's a different type of movie. And of course, it's impossible to do what he did in Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, with a boy. It's impossible, because a girl is, the girl as a victim has to be, she has to turn into, and basically into a boy and fight him back, and it's impossible to do with a boy, with a person of that sex in the role. So, and look, personally, I like, as far as the films go, my favorite Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and I've seen them all a lot of times, are actually Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I would put those in the best of the film. And then I followed up with Nightmare on Elm Street 1, me personally. I think because of the makeup, the script. If you look at if you look at Nightmare on Elm Street 2, through all of the BS that you had online during the 1980s and the 1990s, if you move past all of that hateful stuff, which generally has to do with the thought that this was a gay movie, a lot of it was that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the most iconic Elm Street moments from the whole series are in Nightmare on Elm Street too. I mean, when you think of like You're All My Children Now, of course Freddy's makeup, the bus scene, the transformation. Whenever they do a overview of Nightmare on Elm Street, you can notice most of the stuff they pull comes from Nightmare on Elm Street 2. So our effects were better done. Kevin Yeager did our stuff, and it was pretty amazing and cutting edge for the time. So, and then of course Wes, didn't have any participation in the film after the third one, except for he just collected money. So I don't, it's like I like the first Elm Street, and I think of course it's pop culture history. But it's like I'm not. I think it's really a good movie, but I don't think it's a movie that should intimidate other people. None of the movies really followed in. If you really look at the entire series, I mean, I hear people talk about the canon and all of these kind of things. None of those movies follow any specific set of rules. They all like that Freddy's in the real world in almost every film, and it's a horror movie and it's really good and it's enjoyable, but just the people who really idolize Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 3, they don't really take into effect that none of those rules really exist. My Nightmare on Elm Street 2 was made.
Yeah, I personally like 2 a lot, but 3 is my favorite, definitely. That was the first one I ever saw, was 3.
Yeah, I think that's good. People stop 2 and 3 first, actually. Younger people, because Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is on television all the time. We have free TV a lot. And 3, we have people come to convention all the time, people like you, and they say, oh, I the first one was better, or because they're younger. So that was that. Nightmare on Elm Street was a very good experience. I mean, I love the movie. I love Nightmare on Elm Street too. I love Jesse. I really am very proud of the whole thing. I think it's really a great character study, and there's a lot of good stuff in it. And of course, some of it's stupid, but that's just the 80s. That goes with the character.
Yeah. I think that Kim Myers is the most beautiful girl in the entire series.
Yeah, I think Kim is pretty special. Yeah, she's a beautiful woman. Now she's beautiful too, and she's still she's beautiful today, and she was she's just barely turned 18 in Elm Street in the movie, but she's very young.
How eccentric and crazy was Clu Gulager on this movie?
Clu was like not. I love Clu. I'm not going to see him next week, I think. 2 weeks. We'll be in Dallas together signing autographs and someplace. Clu was great. I loved him. I mean, when he animated all these horror movies, he's pretty, he's pretty kooky. But actually, what I know him from when I was growing up is, Clu was a big wrestling star.
Yeah.
The cowboy Indian type of movie.
The Virginian.
Very handsome. And so, I love him. I love to see him in Clu. I mean, Clu and Hope were both really, wonderful kind of movie star people. They were great.
Yeah, and Hope Lang played your mother. I mean, she's legendary, too. I mean, she was one of Glenn Ford's wives.
She was not really big that anyway. She was just a fat lady. She was a big movie star. And then, of course, she was Mrs. Muir and goes to Mrs. Muir. And Hope was Don, what was his name? She also had a very famous movie star husband. But she was a great movie star in other stuff. I mean, she didn't really need to be attached to a man to be a star.
Yeah. Oh, Don Murray.
Don Murray, that's right.
Yeah. And Robert Russler, he was coming off of Weird Science. His character is really mean to you in this movie.
Oh, really? Is that how you see it? It's so funny. You have to do it is a movie that definitely people see it. I'm going to be with Robert. And shortly we're going on the road for about 3 months together. Yeah, I didn't see Robert as being mean to me in the movie. It wasn't like a traditional bully inside of like a movie like that, because they become friends, which is the remarkable thing that a lot of people tag into that movie for, is the friendship between Freddy and Jesse, because they're such different people that they really shouldn't have been friends. They weren't set up to be friends. They were set up to, one was a bully and the other was, one was a jock and one was a nerd or whatever. But they've become very good friends. Yeah, I love Robert, actually. We were born a day apart, he and I. Robert is in this year we're going to be at a film festival together. I thought I'd be party for it, so it'd be fun. I love Freddy, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, my favorite scene, of course, is the infamous bar scene that is just so hilariously creepy and out of left field that Marshall Bell, your gym teacher, would hit on you and bring you back to his office. It's just so damn funny because it's Marshall Bell. He's always known for playing these, bad guys and stuff, and then he does that.
Mm. Well, Gun and Elm Street 2 was only Marshall's second movie. It's weird to think now that he's done hundreds and hundreds of movies, but that was only his second movie. The first movie that he did was Birdie. He found Parker. But nobody knew who Marshall was at that time when Nightmare on Elm Street 2 came out. And that whole scene is very interesting. That whole segue in the movie theater, in the theaters is interesting. I like the running image, and I think it's very creepy. Filming in the green is always interesting. And I like the fact that they shut down Hollywood Boulevard. Walking away, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, and the first time I saw it, too, I thought that was Freddy Incognito.
Who?
Marshall Bell in that
really?
moment. Yeah.
Well, it could be, It's, that whole section is a dream, so it could be anything.
Mm-hmm. So after the movie came out, you did a couple of TV things, and then you quit acting for so long. What happened?
My lover was dying again at the time, and all of Los Angeles was pretty much a war zone at that point from HIV. And the business had become very homophobic. Before it was, it was okay to be gay. You just weren't, really supposed to talk about it in public.
Yeah.
The way life was in the 80s. But when AIDS showed up, it became a very different, you were expected to go deeply into the closet and have girlfriends and just a lot of things. It was horrible. And I just decided that I wasn't willing to play that game. That there was too many important things going on in the world for me to worry about whether people found out if I was gay or not. Because I've always been very comfortable with myself, and I would rather, honestly, I would rather be happy than be a movie star, to be honest with you. So that's why I quit. And, never regretted it, and not even for a minute. So, it's been interesting coming back into the film business here lately. So, with the making of films and whatnot. So, nothing is lost. So I'm getting ready to make a new movie in Portland shortly. And, I enjoy making movies now. Because I don't have to hide, I don't have to do anything. I just get to be myself. And, that's the whole reason that I left the business. Lock, stock, and barrel. It wasn't because I didn't like it. It wasn't because I was receiving plenty of work. It wasn't an issue of that. It was just the longing that I couldn't put up with. So, what is that? Yeah, you have to see my documentary. My documentary is very much about all the things we're talking about right now. It's a pretty deep dive. It's a very serious movie. It's not a Freddy Krueger fan movie. It explains Nightmare on Elm Street, and it also explains where it sits in history and what was going on, and why it was received later in the way that it was, why who are not really whatever, you can hear by rote what they're saying. They say, oh, it was a really good movie because of this. And you realize, if you're in my position, they're just repeating something they heard, And most of the people who didn't like this movie when they were 14 or 15 years old, when it first came out, go back and watch the movie later, and then they love it, So, because it's a very intelligent movie. But it's interesting because, still to this day, I'll have 10 and 12-year-old boys come up to me and they say something that quite obviously they've heard from their father, And it's not really you can tell it's not even their opinion because a lot of times they haven't even seen the movie. They just say these, the things that you say about in pop culture about things.
Yeah. When did you start doing conventions?
I started doing conventions when I did Never Sleep Again. They brought me back to do that documentary and signed a contract with me to go on the road for Days of the Dead because I really didn't know any of this existed. I didn't know about, I didn't really pay attention to the film business. So, I knew pop culture, Freddy Krueger, was something different. I didn't understand that it was still the #1 horror franchise in the world. And I didn't understand how famous it had become in the meantime. So when I did that, I went off on Days of the Dead. I did that. And it was interesting. And, I made very good money. And that's when I decided to make a documentary about Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Because I felt like it had been poorly treated in, it's just sort of, like in Never Sleep Again, which is a really fun movie. It was just sort of treated like a blowjob show. They didn't really talk about the movie. They just talked about how, everybody made some joke about it. And the film directors and I, who made this movie, felt kind of like that it was sort of given short change again. So we decided to go back in and really speak to the people who made the movie about why they made it the way they did, because it's all very intentional. The movie's very intentional. And after you dig for a while and, you put your story together and then you go and talk to the people about it, it takes a while, but finally they admit why they did what they did and the reasons behind it and all those kind of things. And it's really interesting why people chose to, make a movie that was really, detrimental to their career ultimately in the end. Especially the writer. We talked to him quite a bit. And, really to never get to the bottom of why he wrote the movie in the way that he did. It's just like, they point blank asked him, don't you think this is crazy? You were a screenwriter and this was your big break and, you wrote this, coded kind of movie that was, until you put it all together, you didn't see how subversive it was. And I don't think he still has a good answer to that. But he's interested in the documentary, I must say.
No, that's good. Yeah, I do want to see that documentary.
Yeah, it's fun. It's, this week we're going to Denver, and then we go to Los Angeles Inside Out, and we're opening at Fantastic Fest in Austin is our official opening, which is a big deal. I'm really excited about that. So, yeah, and then it'll stream on Netflix, and hopefully everybody will get to see it.
Oh, awesome. I'll check it out when it hits Netflix. Do you have any upcoming convention appearances you want to plug?
No, not really. I'm on the road pretty much every week, but I'm now on the road with Film Festival. So, like I said, next week I'll be at Denver Film Society, and then after that, Los Angeles Inside Out, Fantastic Fest, and South by Southwest. We'll be on the road for the next year, so hopefully we'll be coming to the town near the folks that are listening to this. And it, it's quite press-driven, so if you're interested in Nightmare on Elm Street, you'll know where Scream Queen is showing up.
And yeah, your health is good?
Very good, thank you. Thank God. Very good.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, Mark, I thank you so much for coming on today. And
it was a pleasure, absolutely. Yeah. So please, hello to all your listeners, and please come and say hi. hi to me at Instagram or Facebook, or just Google Mark Patton and I show up. And come and say hi, follow us, and see Scream Queen. I hope you see it and like it. And thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yes, and also I mean this sincerely. 2 years ago when I saw you at Dark Delicacies, one of the high points of my life was when you told me I was handsome.
Oh, well, good. Thank you. We're going to be actually at Dark Delicacies again, actually, on the July the 21st, I think, in the afternoon. Spring Queen plays at the Chinese Theater, Thomas Chinese Theater, for Outfest, and then it plays at the Museum of Contemporary Art. So they're playing in two different places. And that morning, in the early afternoon, we're doing everybody from Nightmare on Elm Street is doing a signing there. So it'll be like Lisa and Amanda, just somebody from every movie in the franchise, because they're all going to be there at the opening night. They're showing Nightmare on Elm Street 2 at the film festival before they show Scream Queen, and Robert and all those people have to come, and it's going to be a nightmare palooza, I guess. So if you're in town, come, because everybody's going to be there. So it'll be fun.
All right. Well, Mark, you have yourself a great day, and I'm so happy for all the success that's happened to you,
Thank you so much.
in this, half of your life and everything. And I want it to continue for as long as it can. And you are blessed.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, hello from rural Mexico, because that's where we've been talking from here. So it's time to go out and watch the sunset. So I'll catch you on the next time I'm in LA.
Okay. You have fun out there.
Okay. Good night.
Good night. Well, there you have it. Mark Patton. Ain't he a cool dude? Yes, Mark is very blessed. I mean, it's not easy, coming off of, a critical backlash of a movie like Nightmare on Elm Street 2. But I'm glad that his career is finally back to the way that it should have been. And he's going out there swinging and having fun doing it while he can. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes!